Winchester, Indiana is a town proud of its heritage. However, one of its greatest achievements lays just out of town. Hidden among the cornfields is a motorsports jewel. For over 100 years, the 33-degree banking of this facility has intimidated drivers. Names such as Andretti, Gordon, and Stewart have all taken these legendary corners. Now it's the stars of Arca Racing's chance at history. Who among these drivers has the will to tame this legendary monster today? This is the Arca Racing Series, presented by Menards.
Welcome to one of the most exciting racetracks in all of North America. This is Winchester Speedway, and we're ready to begin the Winchester Arca 200 here with the Arca Racing Series presented by Menards. Ken Stout and Rob Klepper to call the action for you. There's a good look at the spotters up overhead. This half mile is incredible. It's the 65th season here with the Arca Racing Series presented by Menards. We're going to show you the points here at Winchester Speedway, known as the world's fastest half mile. And there's a sign when you walk across the track that says, "Through these gates walk the bravest drivers in the world."
And here's one of them right here, Austin Theriault, our current series points leader. Dalton Sargent right there in that number 77 for Cunningham Motorsports runs it second in the points, and those guys are going to battle here today at the High Bank.
Yeah, and Dalton Sargent's been closing the gap on Austin Theriault in the last 3 races. He has beaten Austin, so he is closing that gap. This thing is not over by any means. Then take a look at Riley Herbst, Gus Dean, Shane Lee, Brett Holmes, all of those as well. Certainly players as they are battling there for that top 3 status. Keep in mind, Riley Herbst did not run at Daytona. He wasn't old enough at the time. So, and Zane Smith, he's missed 2 races based on age. So the fact that both of those young guns are inside of the top 7, even after missing a race or 2, certainly speaks volumes.
And you can see right there highlighted the drivers making their first Arca Racing Series race here at the High Banks at Winchester Speedway. Here we are in Winchester, Indiana, the eastern side of the Hoosier State. We are northeast of Indianapolis, about 87 miles. A beautiful facility here, a lot of history. And if you want to put your name in the history books, this is the place to do it at, Ken.
Yeah, the track was actually built in 1914, opened in 1916, owned by Frank Funk and was known as Funk Speedway. NASCAR came here in 1950, and Lloyd Moore won the first race. Over 30 degrees of banking. It is the highest active banked track here in the country. And boy, I'll tell you, it really puts on a show. Speaking of putting on a show, let's talk about our General Tire Pole Award, because not only was Kyle Benjamin number 1 here, but the top 7 were all under the previous track record.
Yeah, previous track record set by Kenny Schrader back in 2014, and Benjamin put on a show in that number 28. 15-6 and change. He got it done. He picked up the General Tire Pole Award, his first of 2017.
Let's get it down to Bob Dillner. He has more.
7 drivers broke the track record here at Winchester Speedway in qualifying, led by a 19-year-old. Kyle Benjamin, one of the bright prospects for racing today. But with all the elements, the track, the weather, how do you balance that out and try to get the car to victory lane today?
I think we just got to take what we learned from practice yesterday. The track will be a little different, like you said, with the weather. It's a little cooler. Shouldn't affect the balance too much. We had a pretty well-balanced car. Just got to keep all the wheels on it and see if we can make it to the end here.
Kyle Benjamin trying to score another Arca victory right here at Winchester.
Such a talented young driver for sure. And take a look at this weather. We couldn't ask for better racing weather. 72 degrees, humidity down there in the 61% range. Just a light breeze as well. And a little overcast, so the sun is not cooking the track here. Should be a great race day.
And there is a little rain in the forecast, so some of the crew chiefs maybe just trying to get to halfway. That's how you could win here today at Winchester. More from the High Banks with the Arca Racing Series presented by Menards when we come back.
The Arca Racing Series presented by Menards is brought to you by Scott Shop Towels. Trade up to towels made for the garage. General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
The ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards, is brought to you on MAV TV by Hers Foods. At Winchester Speedway, the world's fastest half mile. And the gang is out here on the track putting a little bit of heat inside of these cars, inside of the tires as well, to get ready to go here. Take a look at the banking as you watch these guys go on their pace lap. It is incredible.
Yeah, and you might compare this racetrack a little bit to Salem, and it is similar to Salem. It's lightning quick, it's bumpy, it's got a lot of bank to it, but it does race a little bit different, especially down in turns 3 and 4. We're going to see those guys move around here all day.
Here's a look at some past winners with the ARCA Series. Of course, Frank Kimmel. I don't know if there's a track we went to that he hasn't had a win somewhere along the way. Dakota Armstrong, great to see his name in there. Frank Kimmel, again, you see him down in there. Brandon Jones, Austin Wayne Self, and Chase Briscoe, the last person to win here just 1 year ago. And, of course, he went on to win the championship. Of course, they joined some really famous names along with Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Ryan Newman, who all have wins here as well. This track has so much history in it. It is so deep, as they've been competing here for over 100 years. Bob?
When you walk into the infield of Winchester Speedway, you see a sign that reads, "Through these gates past the bravest drivers in the world." And that is absolutely the truth, because Winchester Speedway is one tough place. And what makes it so tough is this wicked banking up here in the corner. 33 degrees. If they crash up top, this place is a self-cleaning racetrack. They slide to the bottom. Add to that fact that these drivers are just about a foot off the wall, and this place can reach out and bite you in a hurry. Just ask our second place point man, Dalton Sargent. He said when he first came here, this place was completely intimidating to him. He's gotten used to it, but he said there are certain places on this racetrack that can still be tough to deal with, including the bumps all over the racetrack. He said you need to put your car in the perfect spot for 200 laps. The bottom line is, this place will be wild here today at Winchester Speedway.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Let's show you the starting lineup here. Kyle Benjamin and Zane Smith will lead him to the stripe. Great job of qualifying for young Zane. Chase Purdy and Shane Lee in row 2. Then it's Gus Dean and Austin Terrier, our points leader, in row 3. Young Raphael Lassard and Dalton Sargent in row 4.
Christian Eckes for Venturini Motorsports in the 15 inside row 5. Travis Braden making the call for the RFMS Racing number 27. Rookie of the Year contender Brent Holmes alongside Rookie of the Year contender Riley Herbst in row 6. Fontaine and Fike for Hillenberg there in row 7. A couple of veterans, Lamastus and Gerhardt, make up row number 8.
In row 9, it's Mike Basham and Con Nicolopoulos, even though James Swanson did qualify the car. The Moose, Thomas Prater and Brad Smith in row 10, and Eric Cadell rounds out the field. Kyle Benjamin leads them to the stripe. He has chosen the outside lane here as they look to pick up the green flag. Zane Smith on the inside, and it looked like Zane Smith might have spun the tires there. Whatever the case was, a huge gap there for Kyle Benjamin already. Looks like you could see some oil dry fly up there as well through turns 1 and 2. Shane Lee will fall into second place, and on board with Chase Purdy making his debut here with the ARCA Racing Series.
Yeah, Purdy a regular with the K&N Pro Series East. Ran 15th at Watkins Glen on the road course yesterday. Driving for Mason Mitchell here in that number 78. Right now going side by side with Lassard there in that 25.
Yeah, he tested here last week and felt really good about the car. Put together a 3-race deal with MMM. So he'll also compete at Salem and Kentucky. There's a look at our points lead to the 52 car. Austin Terrio, and who's right beside him? Yep, second in the points, Dalton Sargent. Of course, Dalton Sargent, as we talked about before, has really had a great run here. The last 3 races, he has won 2 of them and finished 5th at Pocono. So he's done a great job, and no question that Cunningham car is up on the wheel as he tries to track down the 52 and the points.
Yeah, that's such a great onboard shot to show you that you can run side by side here at Winchester. A little bit of progressive banking, and of course, the top line usually wins out. Momentum will win. It just won right there for Austin Terrio as he cleared the 77 of Sargent. But you will see these guys move around, especially down here in turns 3 and 4, running very low, running the middle, running up on top. Preferred line down here in 1 and 2, as you can see, top 10 right now up on top.
What that camera doesn't show you, because it is so awesome, is the severe lack of vision these guys have at this extreme high banking. You really aren't looking out of the typical position of the windshield, and it changes everything. That's a great look, though, for sure, and you can see now Dalton Sargent has fallen in. Typically, the high line will settle in to be the fast line, but right now they are a lane down. We'll see. This track will take rubber for sure, and things will change as they continue on here and run a bunch of laps.
Yeah, Dalton Sargent ran second last year to Chase Briscoe, who was in this exact car, that number 77 for Cunningham Motorsports. So Sargent trying to get a little bit better here this year and pick up the win. Back to the battle for 11th. Riley Herbst and Gus Dean going at it. We talked about their points battle as they are battling on the racetrack and also battling for third in the points.
Yeah, and Riley Herbst currently leading the Bill France 4-Crown Championship, which of course is 4 races, and 2 of those 4 are complete, including Nashville and Pocono. He won at Pocono, the first Pocono, and then finished second just a week ago at the second Pocono race. So he definitely has that tricky triangle down for sure. The number 18 car is so solid.
Back up front, too, Kyle Benjamin in that number 28 for MDM Motorsports got the call recently, within a few days, to race this race.
And, of course, the colors on the car are absolutely gorgeous as they go back in time to the Davey Allison theme. And we saw Sheldon Creed in that car as well a little bit earlier in the year. Beautiful piece as Kyle Benjamin continues to lead on here. First 12 laps of the race. We go back a little bit deeper and take a look at the 78 car. Once again, Chase Purdy, and he's right there behind some of the players, no doubt about it, including Zane Smith, who's been so good for Venturini. On board now with Chase, as you were talking about him before. And yeah, no doubt. I mean, a young gun here, 17 years old, so much talent for sure. Great to see him come out of here and do such a great job. He's having a breakout season. You talked about it before, running the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, and Pride of Iowa earned 4 straight pole positions. Let's get it down to Bob Dillner. He has more in the action.
Dalton Sargent comes into this race still trying to apply pressure for the battle for the championship. The car right in front of him right now, Austin Theriault. And I asked Dalton about that. He said, I need to pour the heat on that 52 team. And he has certainly been doing that, the winner of 2 of the last 3 races here in the ARCA Racing Series. He knows the 52 needs to feel his presence at all times. But the problem is yesterday they didn't have a good qualifying run. They made some adjustments to that car just prior to qualifying, and it really hurt them. It made the car tight, and with the clouds and the overcast conditions here today, the car is even tighter. He knows he needs to live with it at least until the first pit stop.
Yeah, both of those guys, Theriault and Sargent, both have 3 wins on the season. The difference is the consistency. And of the 12 previous races we've run so far this year, Theriault's only been outside of the top 5 3 times and has yet to be out of the top 10. He has just been deadly consistent. So just about 20 laps completed. Yes, this place is not for the faint of heart. That's the sign we were speaking of. And there's a look at your top 5. Kyle Benjamin doing a great job so far and being hounded by Shane Lee. We welcome you back here to the ARCA Racing Series Winchester ARCA 200. And the number 9 of Moose, Thomas Prater, up there on the high side, currently being lapped here as you can take a look at our leaders sailing up through the field.
Also got by Bobby Gerhart there in that number 5 car. Great to see Gerhart here at the High Banks. Former General Tire Pole Award winner back in the day here at Winchester. As we go to that number 77, Dalton Sargent with that 15, Christian Eckes running right behind him.
Yeah, starting to deal with those lap cars as we were talking about before, and that's where the drivers really come into play. You've got to be able to negotiate that lap traffic and stay out of trouble. The 15 car there just behind him as well, Christian Eckes, who has done such an incredible job. Now keep in mind, Christian Eckes only has 7 starts on the season, but is still second in laps led, and everybody talks about him getting his first win. I mean, he's just been knocking on the door. As you also take a look at the number 23 there, Brett Holmes, who's been chasing that Scott Rookie of the Year battle as well, currently second in those points.
Yeah, he's got a lot of laps here in a pro late model. He ran the famous Winchester 400, finished 8th there last year, so Brett Holmes has some laps here at the High Banks, and experience certainly helps when you come to a place like this as he works on that number 52 for Ken Trader Racing, your points leader, Austin Theriault.
Yeah, we've talked about Austin Theriault being the points leader. nationally. He's also leading the Sioux Chiefs Short Track Points Championship. He's also leading the General Tire Super Speedway Challenge along with the S&S Volvo laps completed. So he's having an incredible season.
Yeah, just put A.J. Fike one lap down there. Fikester in the number 10 for Andy Hillenberg is a great 4-car battle on track here.
And Bob Dillner has more on one of our young guns for the Scott Rookie Spotlight. Bob?
Rafael Lessard is one of the youngest drivers in the field, 16 years old. He's from Canada, and he's having a whale of a run here, but this is a racetrack that he does have some experience at. Not here in the ARCA Racing Series, but in super late model competition. In fact, in last year's Winchester 400, he had a whale of a race, but banged off a bunch of competitors at the wall near the end of the race, and that took him out of contention for the win. He told me honestly, coming and running one of these bigger, heavier, high horsepower stock cars at Winchester is actually in some ways a little bit easier. But he says inside the cockpit, everything kind of slows down for him. These cars roll a little bit more than a super late model. And honestly, he loves driving this racetrack and is having a great run so far.
Yeah, and we've had some incredible results out of some of these 15-year-olds. If you're new to the sport and you think, what are you talking about? A 15-year-old kid is out here driving these cars? Well, yeah, they are. And for a number of the 15-year-olds, they have the better part of 8 to 10 years worth of racing experience. It's just a matter of stepping up and learning the new cars, the faster cars. Maybe they have different weights. Tires are a little bit different. They react differently. But in terms of racing craft, they actually are extremely talented. And we've had some 15-year-olds come up here and do a great job winning, Rookie of the Year stuff. So it's awesome to watch them develop and come up through these fields.
Yeah, second start on the year for Rafael Lessard in that number 25. We did see him hit Nashville, a little hiccup in qualifying, stuffed the car in turn number 1 fence, and was unable to make the call there to kick off the Sioux Chiefs Short Track Challenge season. Finished up 13th at Salem. So great to see him back here at the other high-banked half-mile oval here at Winchester.
Yeah, I was just going to say Salem, a high-bank track, short track, much like this. So comfortable here, and no doubt with a lot of short track experience, as once again we go on board with Chase Purdy in 5th place. And now taking a look just down below the 55 of Zane Smith, who qualified on the outside pole, qualified number 2. So Zane has a good car there for sure, driving for the Venturini gang.
Yeah, coming off his best career super speedway finish as he ran 3rd at Pocono. He ran here at Winchester in the ARCA CRA Series last year in Pro Late Model and Super Late Model. Great battle on the track. Let's get it back down for more with Bob Dillner.
Teams getting ready for pit stops here today at Winchester, but when is the big question? Down here in the pit area, we know that these teams have 6 general tires. Usually they do a 2-tire stop first and a 4-tire stop second, but it depends on when they get a caution. So pit strategy, definitely important today at Winchester. And I think if you see a caution after lap 50, a lot of teams will come in. And if it doesn't happen until lap 100, you'll see teams actually do the 4-tire stop first.
Well, then the other scenario is weather, as you were talking about before, Rob. So if these guys are monitoring the radar, and I'm sure they are, that might play into it as well if they feel like they need to put on 4 and get up in the front in case weather comes in past the halfway point to pull the plug on this thing.
Gus Dean, Austin Theriault, Travis Braden there in that number 27 here at Winchester. They tested that car at Lucas Oil Raceway as he goes side by side with Theriault. Great battle on the racetrack. On board with Austin Theriault now in that number 52 for Ken Schrader Racing. The former, had it till yesterday, track record holder here.
Yeah, pretty incredible, right? I mean, he can still get it done. Talking about Kenny Schrader, of course. As you look up there at Gus Dean in the green-backed machine, he's been incredibly consistent for the last 10 races, has not been out of the top 10. Fell back to 2nd in those Scott Rookie of the Year points there for a moment, but now has scrapped his way back up to lead that group. And he's been very, very consistent, of course, looking for that win here, that first win of the season. And he's been as high as 2nd place, finished 2nd at Salem. So he loves these short tracks. By the way, it is his first stop here at Winchester. So Gus Dean not afraid after having a great run at Salem, because he'd never been to Salem either.
He said earlier today, I kind of like running the tracks I've never been to before. He's had good results this year, as we saw battle for the lead starting to heat up. Kyle Benjamin still out front, has led them all from the drop of the green flag. Got that 55 close in tow. Back to that battle for 8th. Herbst, Dean, Holmes, and now Braden into the mix. Oh, contact on the front straightaway.
Yeah, that's first and second, by the way, and Scott Rookie of the Year points. Those two guys battling right there.
Gus Dean, 10 straight top 10s. You mentioned he's been very consistent. It looks like another good hot rod for Wintron Racing here today as they get underneath Thomas Prater. So Dean gets by Brett Holmes, puts a couple car lengths on him.
And I'm surprised Prater running that top line, obviously being lapped here. Typically the lappers would run the bottom down there, but it looks like the fast guys are running, as we talked about before, a lane or two lower through the turn. So Thomas Prater doing his best to be respectful and stay out of their way.
You see that number 27 there, the Don Fike owned entry, normally driven by A.J. Fike, who's in the 10 car this weekend. He'll be back in the 27, they're saying, for the mile dirt races coming up. But Travis Braden getting the call, a winner at the Winchester 400 here last year. Of course, multi-time ARCA CRA Super Series champ.
Won his first career ARCA start at Lucas Oil Raceway and finished second at his first super speedway start in Kentucky. In 2016, also won the Winchester 400 right here as the caution flag has come out, obviously, and the field starts to slow down. There's a look at Rafael Lessard in the 25 car for Venturini. The 77 of Dalton Sargent with Cunningham going around the outside. Rafael Lessard, the Scott Rookie Spotlight driver, has brought out the caution flag. As you can see there, a flat right front. So he'll come down onto pit road. There's a look at your top 5. We'll be right back. The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards is brought to you on MAV TV by Hers Foods. We're at Winchester Speedway, just about 90 miles north of Indianapolis in Winchester, Indiana. Caution flag came out for Rafael Lessard, unfortunately with a flat right front. So the Venturini gang going to work on that one quickly to get it changed out. A little bit of damage to that composite body as well. 6 guys allowed over the wall here in the ARCA Racing Series. 3 guns and 1 jack. Let's get it down to Bob Dillner.
Just got a report from this team for Rafael Lessard, and a cut right front tire caused Rafael Lessard to get into the wall. A lot of damage to the right side of this race car, and the tire completely obliterated here. But so is the right front fender on this car, and that's why the team has been trying to pull it out and get him back out on the racetrack.
And it looks like they were able to do so there. It doesn't look too awful bad.
Winchester stripe, if you will.
Yeah, some of the best in the business have earned one of those here at this incredible racetrack. Let's talk about our Scott Rookie Challenge and show you the points here. Gus Dean leading this group over Brett Holmes. But it's important to know that we really won't see the balance until we have 15 races in the books, because Zane Smith has missed 2 races based on age. Riley Herbst has missed a race based on age. So once we get 15 races in the books up to race 16, things are going to shake up just a little bit.
Yeah, and if you look at the history of Rookie of the Year with this series, of course, Dalton Sargent last year, Kyle Weatherman, names like Bobby Gerhardt, Frank Kimmel, Bill Venturini back in 1983. It's pretty impressive if you can get Rookie of the Year with ARCA.
And here come the leaders on the pit road. That means Bob Dillner is going to be busy. Bob?
22 of Shane Lee brings that car to the attention of his team. The car just a little bit tight right now, so they make an adjustment to that car to get it loosened up in the corner. A 2-tire stop for Shane Lee. Leader Kyle Benjamin also on pit road. That MDM team has a very fast car so far, and Kyle reports really no problems with that machine so far.
He has been solid, to say the least. Has been so good out here in ARCA as well. On his debut back in 2013, finished second at Mobile. Good look at Kyle Benjamin and that beautiful paint scheme dating back, as we talked about before, to the Davey Allison colors. And MDM's had an incredible run out here.
3 ARCA Racing Series wins so far this year. A car that they own leading here, looking for number 4. But let's take a look at the drivers that have won for MDM Motorsports in 2017. Justin Haley, the youngster, of course, winning at Talladega. Harrison Burton at Toledo. We saw Brandon Jones take the 8 car to victory lane in Michigan. And, of course, the 19-year-old Kyle Benjamin out in front here at Winchester. It looks like if you're in that 28 car, you're going to have a pretty good day here with the ARCA Series.
Team has been incredibly solid, that's for sure. So if you want to make a crack at the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, the 28 car with MDM would certainly be a great place to start. Pick up the phone and give them a call. I'm sure they'd be glad to talk to you. Of course, Kyle Benjamin, as we talked about before, extremely good as well. I talked about him making his debut back in 2013, finished second on Mobile. Later that year, driving for Venturini, became the youngest ARCA winner in history at Madison. Has since been passed by Todd Gilliland, but yeah, so talented at such a young age. As once again, Rafael Lessard back on pit road as they go to work on the bodywork there. You're going to start off scratch, so you might as well come back in there and get as much done as possible.
Yeah, good opportunity to get back down to the pits here and fix anything they weren't able to fix, especially here under caution again. Won't lose as many spots as if we were under green flag conditions. On board with Dalton Sargent, trying to reel in Austin Terrio in the chase for the championship. You mentioned 2 wins in the last 3 races. One of them was just down the road, just south of us here at Lucas Oil Raceway. Let's take a look at how he did it.
Yeah, speaking of rain, I mean, they just barely squeaked this thing in before the skies opened up. But they throw the green flag here, an incredibly good racetrack. It was a very busy weekend as well. Austin Cindric making his debut here with the series in the number 99 car.
Yeah, and then Cindric had issues. He had a very fast race car, but you see him stop there on the front straightaway. And then we got a late race caution with Michael Self out in front. Rain came to Brownsburg, Indiana's Lucas Oil Raceway. Then it was Dalton Sargent racing to the front.
Dalton Sargent looking for back-to-back wins as he was fresh off of a win at Iowa as well. Picked up the checkered flag. Moose Fairley keeping it off the wall right there. And then Austin Terrio just a little bit back behind him in 4th place. Keeping the points tight.
Celebrating in the rain is okay if you're in victory lane as we take a look at the results here. Sargent, Self, Finley, Terrio, and Sheldon Creed in that number 12 rounded out your top 5.
Yeah, good run for Sheldon Creed there as well, making some limited starts. Gus Dean again inside of the top 10. Zane Smith a little bit deeper back. Brett Holmes, Shane Lee, and Christian Eckes in that 15 car for Venturini rounded out the top 10.
And that's what Sargent has to do, is win races, because we all know that Austin Terrio, he likes to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th. He's always right there, if not win the race. You're going to have to win if you want to beat him in this championship.
And there is time to do it. Keep in mind, if Terrio does have a bad day, Sargent has a good day, there's 235 points up for grabs to win one of these races. So it can change very, very quickly as they come in here, and they're just a little over 100 points apart from each other.
Back underway with Benjamin out in front. The big-time Ford Shane Lee right now in that 22 running in 2nd. Christian Eckes in 3rd, and then a 4-car battle here for 4th on back.
Nose to tail they go. Down on the bottom, taking a look, and they make it happen. That is Riley Herbst in the number 18 car. Of course, the Joe Gibbs entry right behind Gus Dean in the 32 car. Now, keep in mind, both of those guys started at the back of the field after they had issues following qualifying.
Top 3 kind of pulling away a couple car lengths on 4th on back, but those guys are battling hard as they work through turns 1 and 2 once again.
Let's get it down to Bob Dillner with more.
Guys, let me tell you something. Christian Eckes is a student of the game, running in that 3rd spot on the racetrack. But he didn't have the qualifying effort yesterday that he wanted. He struggled yesterday, timed in 9th. But he actually studied last night. He studied what they call dartfish, where they lay over one video against maybe another fast-paced competitor. And that way, Christian Eckes, who's only 16 years old, can study where he's losing ground. He also called a buddy of his, Jeff Foltz, a veteran late model racer who has run so many races here at Winchester and actually won one as well. And he got a lot of tips from that veteran, so it's paying off for Christian Eckes, all that studying and the conversation with Jeff Foltz as he runs in the top 5.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he needed to do that homework, and it's paying dividends right now as you see him underneath Shane Lee trying to pick up that spot and go into second place. But I say that because he's never turned a lap here in anything until he got here this weekend. Jeff McClure, his crew chief, ranks Eckes up there with the likes of Christopher Bell and William Byron. He said those are the two, and he now joins them as the three best drivers he has ever worked with. He said the kid is loaded with talent. He said the best part is his family, a little bit loose right there in the 15, but he said the attitude of him and his family is just exceptional. It's a pleasure to work with him.
Yeah, getting loose there off turn 2 cost him as the 55 Smith got right on by. You can see behind him is the 77 Sargent, then the 32 of Gus Dean, so a 4-car battle for third on back. But yeah, you got to have your car hooked up here at Winchester if you want to be fast, and the youngster getting a little loose there off turn 2.
Plenty of time to recoup. We still have a lot of racing yet to go here. A little bit short of the halfway point. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Network.
This is the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, and we're at the Winchester Arca 200, one of the most exciting races on the tour at one of the most historic tracks on the tour. The Winchester 400 is certainly one of the races that this track is known for, and names like Bob Sineker, Mike Cope, Mike Eddy, Mark Martin, Gary St. Amant, Butch Miller, Rusty Wallace. I mean, some of the biggest names in all of oval track racing have come out here and grabbed a win at this very historical racetrack. It also has a couple of very special races as well in memory of fallen drivers, both the Rich Vogler Classic and the Kenny Irwin Memorial.
55 taking a spot there. Nice move for Zane Smith, getting by Shane Lee. He'll take over second. So Shane Lee falls back one. You see Christian Eckes there for Venturini Motorsports in that 15. Venturini has yet to win in 2017. I think you have to go back to 2007, the last time they did not win an ARCA race. Got some pretty fast cars, just need a little luck here at Winchester, because right now, Kyle Benjamin looks pretty fast.
And it's not to say that they haven't been close, because Christian Eckes finished second earlier in the year at Elko, and then also Zane Smith finished second at Madison. So Venturini's been right there pounding on the door. They just haven't been able to close it out and step on the top box of that podium. By the way, this is the 8th stop on our Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge, and it's 11 races deep. You take your 10 best. This is the 8th one here at Winchester. Good battles out there on the racetrack as they continue on. Once again, we'll go back down to Bob Dillner, who has more on our points leader.
Guys, I just spoke to Donnie Richardson, who is the crew chief for point leader Austin Terrio, and he said that car, the 52, is all over the map right now. He's really struggling. It's tight, it's loose, it's all over the place. So they made some adjustments on that pit stop, but it's not helping. But this team never gives up. That's their slogan here. They have this on the pit box to remind them they are in control of their destiny and not to ever give up.
Well, and they're really in the catbird seat. He just has to be smart, not wad the car up, keep doing what he's doing, be consistent. And hard to believe, but Austin Terrio's never been to this racetrack. As we take a look at Christian Eckes, now right down below Shane Lee in 4th place and fighting hard for 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to make a pass down to 1 and 2 unless you get a big run coming off turn 4. Making a pass on the low line, I should say. You can get it done down here in 3 and 4, and he'll try it, but it looks like momentum will win out again for Shane Lee. And remember, Eckes had to sit out at Pocono, not old enough to run the big super speedway, ran a Fury super late model race, the Blizzard 100 at Five Flags Speedway, and finished in the top 5. So he did race last weekend, just not with ARCA, and got a pretty good hot rod here today.
And we talked about the fast lane being up by the wall. You can see that they've gotten up there really close by the wall. In fact, Shane Lee all but scrubbing the wall right there as he's been up into the kitty litter a couple times, the oil dry, if you will, that is yet to be blown off because it is slowly working its way up to the top, almost like a dirt track with a cushion. As this thing rubbers up and gets a little bit of grip, they'll keep chasing it.
That's one thing Chase Briscoe said last year here at his first ARCA visit at Winchester when he won his first career race. He said, I think this track is going to help an old dirt sprint car driver, even though he's never ran here before. He said, you kind of slip and slide around. You can have a tight car, a loose car, and you just kind of know how to make it work.
Bama Buggies helping out Chase Purdy here, currently inside of the top 10 and trying to pass the 52 car of Austin Terrio, who we've been talking about, of course, the entire time. Kevin Reed up on the box there for Chase Purdy. You couldn't ask for a better crew chief to help out a young gun.
And, of course, driving for Mason Mitchell, who has won here before as an owner with Austin Wayne Self a couple of years ago. He also ran second here, led up to the final lap, led 90 total laps. Got passed by Brandon Jones on the last lap to finish second. So Mason Mitchell, that entire team, has had pretty good success here at the High Banks.
Listen in here. And you can hear them. I mean, they get out of the throttle and let the car settle in on entry, but then start to squeeze on it. With this high banking, they can monitor some throttle through the turns, as you see Bobby Gerhardt up there in the number 5 car. Once again, staying out of the way there as the leaders go sailing by.
Zane Smith making a run at Kyle Benjamin here. He closed the gap a little bit once they got by the 5 car, and then Benjamin pulled a couple car lengths on him again. Approaching the halfway point, 14 laps from 100, and it has been all Kyle Benjamin to this point. Zane Smith doing a great job there in that 55, as we mentioned, coming off that awesome third-place run he had at Pocono last week.
Yeah, Zane with 10 starts so far this season, only outside of the top 10 2 times. Michigan had a hard hit and rebounded nicely after that race to finish second at Madison. He is a talented young man for sure. And just after you said you can't pass on the bottom, there goes Gustine to prove you wrong or prove us all wrong. But, you know, you said it before, there's a bottom line and a top line here. And you've got he ran, I mean, right on the door of Christian Eckes, but was able to pull it off.
Yeah, you could see him sliding around there when he moved back up to the outside part of the racetrack off turn at number 2. If your car's a little bit too tight, you have to worry about that right front tire. If it's a little loose, you certainly have to worry about that right rear tire.
And many of the drivers have said when they come in here, let's run up by the wall. That way you won't hit it as hard. And kind of use it to guide you around there if you do get into a little bit of trouble. And they're right up by it now as you go on board with Dalton Sargent.
Yeah, 2 cars ahead of Sargent. That is the 32 of Gus Dean. And again, that last time off turn 2, he was a little loose.
What do they say? Loose is fast? Kyle Benjamin looks like he's got that thing locked down, man. The 28 car has led every lap so far. You see him right there making a pass on the number 69, putting them a lap down.
Yeah, great to have Bo Lamastus back here with the ARCA Series. Second start here this year. Zane Smith has reeled in your leader, and lap traffic will come in to play for this lead. These guys work their way around.
And Zane being very patient here as well. No point in pushing it right now. Second place. Just keep clicking off the laps as we're just about a handful of laps short of the halfway point.
Kyle Benjamin, a couple car length advantage. Zane Smith runs second. Shane Lee for Cunningham Motorsports in the Big Time Ford holds on to third as they all chase that MDM number 28. Stay with us. More from Winchester when we come back.
The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards is brought to you on MAV TV by Hers Foods. To look at some of the vintage cars that are covered up here that were out here putting on a show as well earlier in the weekend.
Yeah, we talked about the ARCA history, and you brought up some of the open wheel history, and had the opportunity to race the midget here a handful of times, and it's sketchy in a midget. You guys have been here in a wing sprint car. It's even sketchier in that, but it's a great racetrack. Puts on a great show, and the fans love coming to Winchester.
And my son finished on the podium here a year ago in a wing sprint car and said, I couldn't see a thing. It's probably a good thing for him to scare you to death. We can see great out of this one, though, and Christian Eckes has had a great run, currently inside of the top 5, and he was fighting hard to get into second place a little bit ago and has since fallen back into 5th place. So you got to be careful how hard you're going to drive one of these things and create a lot of heat inside of those tires. But right now trying to pick his way back up. But how about Gus Dean? Looking at Gus Dean there, starting off in the back of the pack, now solidly inside of the top 5. It's been a great run for the Kevin Sawinski number 32 car sponsored by Gree.
Yeah, and you can see Christian Eckes, who can see the 32 right in front of him, getting a little loose coming off the high banks there, off of turn 2, off of turn 4 as well. So he's just sitting back there waiting to see that right rear jump out for the 32. Then he can pounce. Here we go on board again. You can see him fight the wheel coming off turn 2.
And the momentum around the top is just brutal to try and beat driving down underneath. Even though there's a lot of grip, a lot of banking here, if you're doing what you're supposed to do up there on the top, it makes it very difficult to drive underneath somebody.
Meanwhile, back up front, it's still all Kyle Benjamin there in that 28 car, followed by Zane Smith in the 55. They put a little distance on third place Shane Lee. Just past the halfway point, now just logging some laps. So we are in the safe zone, if you will, if we do get any weather here.
And as you can see there by Kyle Benjamin, kind of starting high there, N3, and then pulls back down to the bottom of the track at the exit of 4.
Smith getting a little loose there off turn number 2. We go on board with Austin Theriault. We heard from Bob Dillner fighting the car a little bit here for Ken Trader Racing. Currently runs 8th.
I'm sure they're chasing it as best they can. Only one pit stop so far, though, and you can see a fair amount of fluid has been splashed on the windshield as well from cars up in front of him, possibly lap cars, a little bit of oil and excess water maybe coming out of them.
You can see 3 wins on the year for Theriault. His worst finish was 9th. He ran 8th the last race at Pocono, and that's where he sits right now. Meanwhile, Zane Smith doing all he can to reel in Kyle Benjamin. You can see Benjamin running kind of in the middle of the racetrack down there in 3 and 4. Smith able to drive it in the middle and kind of drift up to the top, so he was driving it in a little bit deeper. Meanwhile, we go back to second in the points, Dalton Sargent there in the big time Ford for Cunningham.
Dalton Sargent finished second here last year to Chase Briscoe, and now he's actually driving that same car that Chase Briscoe won in here. Well, he's hoping for those same results, of course. Has a lot of super late model experience here as well.
And he's got some side-by-side action right in front of him as he runs in the 6th position.
Right there by that wall. Oh, yeah, up there. That's a kitty litter I was talking about before, and Shane Lee gets in it. And you can see it kick the car out just a little bit on the entry.
Gus Dean running in 3rd, as you mentioned, from back in the pack. It's by Prater there in the 9. And Gus Dean has been solid. You throw out the first 2 races of the year, this kid is in it for the championship for sure.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak with him as well. I mean, a very respectful young man, so happy to be out here and really just wants to do well for his sponsors and his race team. Met the wonderful people from Gree as well that are supporting his efforts. So we wish them the best, and hopefully they can continue on. He's certainly delivering well for them. Riley Herbst right on the back bumper of the Cunningham entries. And with more on the 22 car from Cunningham, let's go to Bob Dillner.
Just spoke to Paul Andrews, who's the crew chief of Shane Lee, and they have an interesting development going down here. They came onto pit road to make that right side tire change in the 2nd spot, but what they didn't know when they made adjustments to that race car is they had an actual right rear tire going down. So they believe the car gave them a misread on what it was doing on the racetrack. They made the adjustments, and they think it might be the wrong ones, and that's why the 22 with Shane Lee is all over the racetrack.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Of course, that right rear going down is going to feed him some information in the driver's seat that he's going to relay to his crew chief. They'll make adjustments based off of that, but as they talked about before, once you get that right rear aired back up, it's going to change everything.
And Dalton Sargent, his teammate, going right underneath him off turn 2. Here comes Riley Herbst to the inside off turn number 4 to try and get by Shane Lee. Paul Andrews, one of the best crew chiefs. Oh, and now trouble down in turn 1. Dalton Sargent into the fence.
And that will be huge in terms of points implications as we go on board with him. What a shame here as we're just a little bit past the halfway point. The 77 car is going to have a long day here now.
Yeah, didn't see exactly what happened down there in turn number 1. If he had a little help, they were battling on the racetrack for sure. But this team will have to go to work, and now he's going to have his work cut out for him, as you said, to try and get back to the front. Let's get it down to Bob Dillner. He's in the 77 pit.
Devastation in terms of the points championship battle right now for Dalton Sargent. You can see the damage to the rear of the car. They're changing the right side tires on this race car, and there's a bunch of damage as well to the right side sheet metal on this race car. Dalton Sargent came in second in points of this team right now, making sure there are no tire rubs, getting the quarter panel and the fender off the right side tires. But definitely a blow here today for Dalton Sargent and the 77 team.
That is a tough one to take for sure. You see the two battling just behind him, but it was a 77 car right there, missing the entry, and gets up into the turn and into the wall. We'll be right back with a follow-up on this story. Stay with us.
This is TrueCar.
Dalton Sargent second in the points, up into the wall, brings out the caution flag here at the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. This is the Winchester Arca 200, and let's take you back and show you what happened to the 77 car.
So 77's in front of his teammate Shane Lee, who's battling with Riley Herbst, but entering turn number 1. Don't know if the brakes failed, cut down a right front tire, didn't know it till he got there. Needless to say, he got up into the fence and did some pretty good damage. Let's get it back down to Bob Dillner for more.
Kyle Benjamin and that 28 team have been virtually flawless all day today. Right side tire is going on that car right now. They'll go around to the left side and make it a Ford tire stop. The only report that Kyle Benjamin mentioned of this race car is that it's a little bit loose coming down the hill, but problems on the right front tire for this team. A very slow stop for this team. They will lose a bunch of spots on pit road. Disaster for Kyle Benjamin.
So the 28 car will lose some spots, including one to the 78 car of Chase Purdy. Looks like the 23 car up there as well, able to beat him to the track. And the 55 car of Zane Smith, his first one out. Patience has paid off. He relied on the crew, and they put him out in front. Time now for our Protect Plus mid-race recap. Right off the bat, it was on the outside line. Kyle Benjamin in that number 28 car stood on the throttle and took off into the lead.
He won the General Tire Pole Award with a new track record here at Winchester Speedway. Got out front and pretty much checked out in the first half of this race. It was caution number 1 for Rafael Lassard, the youngster, getting a Winchester stripe, damage to the right side. The Venturini team having to go and work. And Dalton Sargent most recently into the fence in turn number 1, bringing out our second caution here at Winchester.
And as documented just a moment ago, the number 28 car, which was the leader, Kyle Benjamin came in here and then struggled during this pit stop and will give up the lead to that number 18 car.
So 2 race leaders so far in this year's Winchester Arca 200. Kyle Benjamin, you can see the laps led there, and most recently Riley Herbst after not pitting under this last caution. Cautions coming out courtesy of Rafael Lassard and most recently the number 77 of Dalton Sargent.
This mid-race recap is brought to you by Protect Plus, the official licensee of DuPont Water and Air Filtration. As we take a look again at Dalton Sargent, who's come back in, you can see the damage there on the right front fender and down the right side of that Ford. Let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Chad Bryant brought the 77 back down pit road. They've been down pit road a few times already. 1 lap to go until we go green. You can see they're checking the toe on the front end. They hit the right side pretty hard, and they believe that knocked some things out of whack on the front suspension. So they did what they could to get that car right for Dalton Sargent.
In a very limited amount of time, of course, and Chad Bryant, the 3-time consecutive and reigning Cometic Crew Chief of the Year, hoping to make it 4 here at the end of the year, but they've got a lot of work cut out for him, and today is not going to help.
Yeah, now they just want to make it to where he can keep up with some of the cars on the racetrack, get back up to speed, obviously out of it to try and win this race.
He's up to speed, it looked like to me right there. I mean, he was getting it done. Everybody falling in there behind the pace car. And I love it, man. Every single race, these 2 kids that have grown up together, their fathers work and race together out on the West Coast and have for many, many years, I mean 20, 30 years, constantly find themselves side by side, nose to tail. They both have a ton of talent with a couple of very good programs, and it is showing as they both continue to lead these fields of very talented racers. So on the inside, Zane Smith with the 55 car, and the leader has chosen the outside, much like Kyle Benjamin did earlier. That is Riley Herbst, who started off in the back of the pack, did not come in to pit road, is going to try to go down to the bottom and block Zane. It's not going to happen. And with those older tires on, it looks like the field is going to split him and gap him as they go on to a different strategy here with 78 laps to go.
4 fresh General tires pretty much always win out. And Zane Smith proving that fact right now as he is out front leading laps here at Winchester. Eckes in the 15 going at it with Gus Dean, who came from the tail in that Wintron number 32. Austin Terrio, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, has worked his way into the top 5.
And Gus Dean just a little bit loose there coming off the turn as he was down there on the bottom. Just could not let the car roll. So the 15 car of Christian Eckes will take over that position. Bob talked about him being 16 here, just had a birthday about a month or so ago, even less, and yeah, was competing out here earlier in the year at the age of 15. He's done an incredibly good job. Talked about him before. Still second, only 7 starts, this being his 8th. Still second at the highest laps led of the season. That's an incredible effort.
Yeah, he total of 272 laps led, and he did it in the first 5 races. He led in every single one of the first 5 as Dalton Sargent makes his way back to the pits.
Yeah, just to add insult to injury, he's now serving a pit speeding infraction, so has to do a drive-through here. It's the way it seems to go sometimes as we go back and take a look at the 18 car of Riley Herbst. And Riley, as we talked about before, had a mechanical. They had to do some work on that car after qualifying, had to start in the back of the pack. We saw him up there starting on the pole there on that restart, but just did not have the fresh tires, so immediately was passed. His first time here as well, and he's actually scheduled to test tomorrow with the $1 Million Man, Donnie Moran. He's going to get ready for the dirt race at Springfield, Illinois, which will immediately follow Winchester a couple of weeks later.
Chase Purdy there in the 78, right behind Gus Dean in the 32. And here comes Kyle Benjamin taking a look to the inside off turn number 4. Yeah, very excited to get back to the big mile at Springfield. We'll also be at the Magic Mile at DuQuoin, Road America. A lot of great venues coming up, and this is the part of the season that makes this series awesome. I mean, you go from a half mile, actually you go back to Pocono, triangular shaped racetrack, to a half mile here at Winchester, to a dirt mile, to a road course. I mean, it's pretty awesome what this series can do and where they go.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, Daytona, Michigan, super speedways, dirt tracks, road courses, and of course one of the dirt tracks and the road course here at Road America will complete the Bill France 4-Crown Championship as well. So we'll find out who wins that championship. It's really cool what they've done here. You can win a Scott Rookie of the Year Challenge. You can win a Bill France 4-Crown Challenge. You can win a Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge, which was really designed for the kids that aren't old enough to run at the super speedways. If it's super speedways you like, you can win the General Tire Super Speedway Challenge. So there is something here for everybody at ARCA.
Kyle Benjamin right now trying to get behind the young man making his debut in the series. Chase Purdy there for Mason Mitchell Motorsports, and that 78, and he gets a start to dance a little bit there off turn 2.
He was dancing because he had a partner, and the partner was pushing. That 28 car of Kyle Benjamin wants to get back to the front. A little mishap there on pit road cost him some positions, but no doubt he has a good car right on the back corner there of Chase Purdy, and now takes a look down on the inside. Can he make it work? Wow. Good handling car right there to drive down underneath him like that.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier, having a good run off turn 2. He was able to turn down off the bank, shoot underneath him, have a nice run into turn 3, complete the pass there coming off turn 4.
Great effort out of the 28 car. He's quickly working his way back to the front. Does he have enough to get around Dean, Eckes, and then the very tough Zane Smith? We'll find out when we come back. The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards is brought to you on MAV TV by Hers Foods. They're getting down, or certainly in the back half here, getting down to the final 25% of this race. As you take a look at the race leader, that's the number 55 car up there out of the windshield. of Zane Smith driving for the Venturini team. Right behind him is his teammate here at this race, Christian Eckes. Both of those young drivers have finished as high as second and looking for their first career ARCA Racing Series win.
And Christian Eckes is slowly reeling him in for sure. You could see up on the ticker there, last time by, just over 4/10 behind him. You could see him driving into turn number 3, gains a little bit entering there, and he's running a little bit lower than Zane Smith as well.
60 laps to go here as we go on board with Christian Eckes. The 15 car, I mean, we've seen him at these short tracks have some issues before or get off sequence. He's gone from the front or been in the front all the way to the back of the pack to the front again a couple of times in the same race. He has the ability. His racecraft is extremely good, and he can certainly pass some cars. As again, we take a look at that number 28 car of Kyle Benjamin behind Gus Dean, trying to get around another one here. He's certainly closed up on the back bumper and has a car that is a bit faster. Can he make the pass?
Kyle Benjamin, 2 career ARCA wins, both on short tracks at Madison International Speedway and the Salem Speedway as well. Trying to win one here at Winchester. Class of the field for sure in the first half, and you mentioned a little issue there during that last pit stop, and now he'll have to race his way back to the front of me. If this thing goes green, it's going to be tough for that 28 to get back up there under 60 laps to go, but certainly has a good fast race car here as they're racing side by side right in front of him.
He has been solid, to say the least. 18 career ARCA starts for Kyle Benjamin. 7 top 5s, including 6 top 3s and 12 top 10s. 2012 ARCA CRA Super Series Southern champion. You talked about him being so good in that as well. Youngest in series history, by the way. Youngest winner in ARCA CRA history. 6 Bandolero championships. If that wasn't enough.
Yeah, and he wants a little more because he's going to pass Gus Dean there for that 3rd position. The 28 moves into the podium spot there. Dean back to 4th. So we'll see if he has enough to reel these guys in for the win. Seems like a lot of laps left here, but they go by pretty quick here, 16, 17 seconds.
The MDM car tracking down the Venturini cars. He can set sail now. He has clear track in front of him. As again, you take a look at Gus Dean. And we go back up to the 55 cars. A caution flag comes out, and it looks like it's going to be Bo Lamastis. Unfortunately, here he's going to bring out the caution there with the Crosley back number 69. Bill Kimmel entry.
Yeah, tested that car, I believe, on Wednesday at Salem, and now
Bobby Gerhardt up into the wall hard.
Yeah, tough break for Bobby Gerhardt there in that Lucas Oil Racing TV number 5. Heavy front end damage. Facing the wrong way.
Yeah, what a shame for him. New car as well. Just a couple of races on that. Of course, known for his 8 wins at Daytona. As you take a look at your race leader. Let's get you up to speed here with a little more information on the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge.
Yeah, it really is a short track championship within the overall championship. 11 events total. They'll take your best 10. And the points champion at the end of the year will be the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge winner. Of course, Chase Briscoe won it last year. Kyle Weatherman won it in 2015. As you mentioned, really intended for those drivers that can't run on the super speedways due to their age, as we take a look at the current points.
Yeah, with 7 of the 11 possible complete, Austin Terrio leads the group, but only by 15 points over Dalton Sargent. Then Christian Eckes, Zane Smith, and Riley Herbst are also inside of that top 5, as to be expected, of course. So 7 of them complete. We are currently running round number 8 here at the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge, and the remaining 3 races on the schedule will take us to the dirt next, Springfield, then DuQuoin, and we'll round it out and crown our Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge at Salem Speedway September 9th.
Yeah, some great racetracks on the schedule this year. The 2 dirt miles started off at Fairgrounds Speedway at Nashville. It was won by Chad Finley, another great historic racetrack. And as you talked about earlier, just a great way for someone that's maybe not chasing the entire series to pick up a championship with the ARCA Racing Series.
And, of course, we have to thank the wonderful people from Sioux Chief for all of their support as well for the Short Track Challenge. Good look at Riley Herbst, and Riley has had his fair amount of issues to deal with so far this weekend. The Joe Gibbs-owned team, of course, the number 18, NOS-sponsored machine, will pull back down here onto pit road, and we'll get it to Bob Dillner who's right there to cover all the action. Bob?
Man, it's been a tough weekend for Riley Herbst. That big hit on the wall in practice. This team had to make repairs to this race car. They've been battling with it since then. Had to start at the rear of the field, and now a pit stop. They will have fresher rubber than anybody else on the racetrack for the most part, so they might be able to charge through the field, and they got the lucky dog here, so they'll be back on the lead lap.
A lot of work to do, though, for that number 18 Camry. Also saw there in that split screen that Dalton Sargent was back on pit road as they continue to chase that. Well, speaking of the number 18, talk about having a good run. He had 2 good ones at Pocono. The first time we were there, he picked up the win. And the last time we were there, well, he nearly stole the win again.
Casgralla there off the line first there in that number 41. Would get out front early here at Pocono Super Speedway. The second time here in 2017 for the ARCA Racing Series here at the Tricky Triangle.
This place is so big, and it really tests the drivers, as you might imagine, as they sail down into turn number 1. It's not a flat-out turn. You've got to carry some throttle. Haley holds off the hard-charging Herbst for the win right here. But Riley Herbst certainly made his presence known. And he is good there at the Tricky Triangle. Congrats to Haley, though. 3 starts, 3 wins, an incredible talent there.
Justin Haley, the 11th different driver for Mason Mitchell Motorsports as they picked up their first win of the year. Ironically, their last win was at the Springfield Mile on the dirt, and it was Justin Haley who drove to the victory for Mason Mitchell Motorsports. Herbst, Zane Smith, Gralla, and Sargent there. Your top 5 good points day there for Dalton Sargent.
And the number 18 rolling back in here again. And, Bob, you were talking about him having a tough day, so Riley comes back in for some more action in the pits.
It goes from bad to worse for Riley Herbst. 3rd in points coming into this race. He's had a tough weekend. And after making a pit stop during this caution, he reported he thought he had a loose wheel on the right rear. Well, the team checking out the left rear right now because the spotter radioed to the team and said it looks like the rear end is swaying on that race car. So they think they might have something broken in the rear suspension. So they're going to work on the rear of that car right now, hoping to get Riley Herbst back out on the racetrack.
What a shame, man. Everybody has those tough days, and Riley Herbst is certainly experiencing one of those here today. There's a look at your top 5. Zane Smith hoping for his first career ARCA Racing Series win.
Ranger.
You're following the pace car here at the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards at the Winchester Arca 200. Should be a great restart here. You can see the 55 of Zane Smith there on the outside. That is the race leader, and once again has chosen the outside here for the restart. Christian Eckes, his teammate, right below him. Both Venturini cars filling out the front row. And then keep your eyes on the 28 of Kyle Benjamin. Just behind him has a very fast car. Bob?
What a tough weekend for Riley Herbst. The team comes down pit road once again after that stop for tires. Riley felt like he had a tire loose, but the spotter noticed the rear end was swaying a little bit. So they brought the 18 back down, and Shannon Rush, the crew chief, told me a broken track bar mount on the 18. Wow. Goes from bad to worse for Riley Herbst.
They throw the green flag. Zane hits the throttle. Here we go.
Christian Eckes in second. Here comes the 28, Kyle Benjamin, who led the first 117 laps.
Under 50 laps to go here in this 200-lapper. Christian Eckes now feeling the pressure from Kyle Benjamin in that 28 car. Right down on the bottom. He's been able to pass a couple, and it looks like he's going to clear Eckes here as well.
Yeah, when you have a good race car that turns as good as that number 28, you can make it work coming off turn number 2. Not many guys can do it. Kyle Benjamin certainly one that can, and has already pulled a couple car lengths on Eckes. Now sets his sights back on the 55.
And yes, you did see the back end of that car kick out there. There's a bit of a bump right there on the exit of 4, and everybody deals with it here at this racetrack. It's just part of the fun. Boy, his car is hooked up for sure as we go back a little bit deeper in the field there and take a look at Gus Dean. Gus Dean currently in 4th place, and now we go back to our leaders. Zane Smith is going to have to deal with a charging 28 car of Kyle Benjamin, who's already looking down below.
Yeah, you can see he was running again right through the middle part of the racetrack, a little bit lower, about a half a groove lower than the 55 in turns 3 and 4. He'll follow him through 1 and 2. We'll see if he can try it again down here. A little bit lower in 3 and 4, and it turns so well through the middle of the corner. 55 is going to have his hands full here in a hurry.
The one thing about running a lane lower is you will use up your tires a little bit more. He'll build a little bit more heat in them. Of course, if the setup on the car is a little bit better, it might equal out. He can certainly run a lane lower. But what does Zane have? Is Zane being cagey? Is he just staying up there right now knowing that he has something for him? Tough to say. It's going to shake out here in the next few laps. But Zane hasn't flinched as of yet.
Zane Smith took the lead at lap 122 from Riley Herbst. He's found himself out in front ever since. No real challenge until now, as Kyle Benjamin is right back behind him.
Yeah, I mean, he's caught him here, but he's not making any ground up on him by running that lower line. Every single time falls right back up in place, so he's really just building some heat in those front tires.
Or he's trying to make Zane block, and he'll get a wheel on him here.
Good run on him right there. Is that enough? Can he make it stick down here? No, Zane puts a little bit on him, pulls out just a little bit, and Kyle has to fall in line.
Now Zane may have to go on defense here a little bit. He'll go back up top in 1 and 2. He's got a handful of cars in front of him. They'll get around Prater there in the 9.
Prater doing a good job now. He was up on the top, now down on the bottom to stay out of the way. That's what you like to see. I mean, the other drivers, the lappers, being respectful to our leaders here.
Mike Basham in the 34 moves out of the way down low as the leaders go by.
And helps out Zane just a little bit. He puts a little bit of a gap on him there. But it's going to be a dogfight here right to the very end. And there's no question that 28 car is a tick quicker than the 55, or at least for now.
And will continue to apply the pressure for sure, trying to make that 55 Zane Smith make a mistake. He's running pretty much the same line over there in 3 and 4 that he has been. Zane Smith, I mean, and the 28 still runs a little bit lower. So all the way around the racetrack, the 28's a little bit better through the middle part of the racetrack, but not enough to get a run and make a run there coming off turn 4.
Zane, another talented young driver here. So good and so calm. He's had a ton of seat time. The kid's been racing since he was old enough to drive anything. Started off in some short course kart or buggy racing, if you will, and of course stepped up. He was a real standout, really talented driver in karts, in go-karts, I should say. Nearly won the Snowball Derby 2015. Really got checked up a little bit because somebody was spinning and there was a lot of tire smoke in front of him. But if it had not been for that, everybody agrees he would have won that race. So he's an extremely talented young driver.
And here's another talented young driver, Christian Eckes, for Venturini Motorsports. And look at that, the 28 all over the back bumper of Zane Smith.
Coming up on 30 laps to go here. And again, Kyle Benjamin is not going anywhere. But the 55 car of Zane Smith has not been intimidated yet. He just keeps running his line and maintaining that speed. Benjamin, as close as he's been so far, now pulled up alongside the 55. Zane able to hang on, though, and still carries the momentum and keeps the car out front.
Well, remember, Zane Smith, he led practice here at Winchester yesterday, has a very fast race car, has been good all weekend, and now he is showing it. Is it enough to hold off the 28?
And it looked like a little bobble. He went way up by the wall right there, but he gets a good run off the turn.
Driving around that number 10, yeah, getting around H.A. Fight because they go side by side. This is where the 28's been the best. Getting a run through 1 and 2, shooting low off turn number 2, and then making a move off turn 4. Still, momentum pays off for Zane Smith.
And let me tell you something. Hats off to both of these drivers for driving each other as clean as they have. I mean, maybe, just maybe a little tap right there, but not enough to upset the 55 car. They've been incredibly clean, just inches away from each other.
And this is a lot like what we saw last year with Dalton Sargent out in front. Chase Briscoe was right behind him, stalking him around the racetrack and made some good moves to get by him in the later stages of this race. And we could see a repeat here with that 28.
Coming around here this time, 25 to go. They're clicking them off here very, very quickly. Lapper right up in front of him. Might be able to use him for a pick as well. That is the 34 car of Basham.
And the yellow lights are on. Fourth caution of the afternoon.
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
That sets up a great restart, and of course this big drive to the finish. We'll see if there's anybody else in the field that can hang with these two. Certainly driven away from the pack here. It's going to be good. We're going to have a shootout. That looks like a drive shaft laying down there. Need that to go forward. And that one's ripped in two. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the world's fastest half-mile, Winchester Speedway of the Arca Racing Series presented by Menards and the Winchester Arca 200. It's also the 8th stop on the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. And Zane Smith has been out front as of late looking for his first career Arca Racing Series win. He was hounded hard, though, by the 28 car. There's Zane's teammate, Christian Eckes. So this restart will be exciting, to say the least.
Yeah, Zane Smith took the lead from Riley Herbst on lap 122. There is Shane Lee making a pit stop. 4 top 5s on the year for him. Paul Andrews, his crew chief, won here at Winchester a handful of years ago with Dakota Armstrong behind the wheel.
Everybody pulling back off of pit road here to get back out onto the track. The leaders pretty much have taken the tires that they're going to get here for the race, and they'll finish up with what they have. Dalton Sargent, unfortunately, will not be able to finish this one. It looks like they have called it quits here for the day.
Big hit in the points for that 77 Cunningham Motorsports team, and Dalton Sargent was trying to bounce back here at Winchester after finishing second last year, and problems, issues on the track. As we heard from Bob Dillner, just got from bad to worse, and unfortunately, he'll sit here in the pits.
Yeah, 3 podiums in the last 5 races for him, and boy, this one takes a hard hit for sure. Rafael Lassard, who got up into the wall here early on in this race, brought out our first caution, has been back down on the pit road a couple of times. Another Venturini car. And talking about being busy on pit road, let's get it back down to Bob Dillner.
That incident earlier for Dalton Sargent has certainly reared its ugly head here. You can see the team working on a broken oil cooler right there, but also a broken drive shaft. You can see where it's actually busted up here. So the team, second in points, battling for the championship, has a lot of work to do to try to get that 77 back out on the racetrack.
Here's a look at the points. As you can see, the difference coming in between the top 2, just 110 points. Now, Riley Herbst there in third. As we talked about, missed Daytona, wasn't old enough. Gus Dean, Shane Lee round out your top 5. Shane Lee, as high as third at one time this year, has fallen down a couple of spots. Boy, he's just had some bad luck along the way, but he has been good, and the car has been good. And we should talk about the opportunities to win here as well. I mean, it's not over by any means. Had this gone the other way, if Austin Theriault had the bad luck here and Dalton Sargent did not, keep in mind, there's 235 points to win one of these events. So you can swing 100 points very, very quickly in one race.
Yeah, and there are bonus points as well. Remember, you get 5 points if you win the General Tire Pole Award. Any official lap leader gets bonus points. Now, either of those guys have led here today so far. And, of course, Austin Theriault really the only one of those two that has a shot to lead a lap and get those bonus points. But that adds up as well. If you go through this entire season and you get 5 or 10 bonus points every few races, it's going to make or break this championship.
Yeah, 7 more races yet to go here this year. It is not over by any stretch of the imagination. We'll talk about not being over yet. The 28 car will be right alongside the 55 car now. That will be as close as Kyle Benjamin has been to the lead since the 55 has taken it over. Does he have anything for Zane starting off on the bottom? That car has been good down there. Zane looking for the green flag. Stands on the throttle, turns the car sideways a little bit. Looks like something has happened mechanically to Zane Smith. He's yet to pick up speed. What a shame for the young man. It looked like he had a car good enough to certainly contend for the win here.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest restart of the year for Zane Smith for sure, and trouble coming off turn number 4. Meanwhile, for Austin Terrio has worked his way into third, so the points leader having another good run here at Winchester.
Right.
Seems to always work his way to the front in the closing stages.
Just doing what he does, man. I mean, he picks his way to the top 5 nearly every time. Another look at Riley Herbst as his issues. There it is. That track bar completely broken, giving up the rear end not located securely, so he's going to have to call it a day here early as well. Kyle Benjamin, on the other hand, having a spectacular day. Looking to put win number 4 in the books for the MDM team here this year. That is more than any other team on the tour. Currently standing, if he can finish this one up in the front.
And how about that 27 RFMS Racing entry? Travis Braden doing a great job right behind Austin Terrio. Getting the call to run the 27 here this weekend at Winchester. As we mentioned earlier, they did test it at Lucas Oil Raceway. But having a good run here. He's got a lot of laps of this racetrack, and it seems to be paying off here right now.
Yeah, that's a great effort. Oh, man, really loose is a 78 car of Chase Purdy right behind him. But really happy for Dan Glaus, the crew chief there for the 27 car, and the rest of that gang. A good, solid finish there with a new driver and behind the seat. Of course, A.J. Fike jumping in that car to help out his good friend Andy Hillenberg as well. So it was a win-win for everybody, it looks like, here today.
It looks like that 78, driven by Chase Purdy, doing a great job slowly reeling in Travis Braden. It's kind of using that same line we've seen Kyle Benjamin use there coming off turn 2.
Man, that 78 car has really made a couple of big moves, a couple of big wiggles there. He's hanging on to that thing and driving hard. He's really been on a hot streak as of late, winning back-to-back ARCA CRA Super Series races at Lucas Oil and Killcare Raceway. And now doing a good job with this ARCA Series car, the number 27, of course, a composite car built by Dan Glaus and the boys.
Kyle Benjamin continues to lead. There is Christian Eckes running in second. The battle for the lead with 10 laps to go. Starting to heat up. Can Eckes make a move on that number 28 for MDM and make it stick to pick up his first win?
You know, another time where he has done an incredibly good job, works his way up to second place. It'll be the second time here this year, in fact, that he finishes in second if he remains here, and so far has not been able to close the gap too much, but certainly has maintained it.
There's Gus Dean, Chase Purdy, and Shane Lee now back up into the mix. Dean, of course, getting to the back of Zane Smith on that restart, and Shane Lee
Is that how you feel
using that right rear a little bit on Chase Purdy. But yeah, Gus Dean, you can see a little damage to the left front on that number 32 for Wintron Racing.
Yeah, and the damage on the 22 car was when he ran into the back of his teammate, the 77 car of Dalton Sargent, when he got up into the wall. The 22 car was right there and just could not get out of the way quick enough. Short track racing, right? And when you come here to this racetrack, it is brutal. You get out of this one without a scratch on the car, you've had a pretty good day.
Benjamin Eckes, looks like Benjamin has opened up a little bit more of a gap between him and second place. Zane Smith sits in the pits.
We'll be back in just a moment here to the Winchester Arca 200. 10 laps to go here, and we'll wind this one up.
The ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards, is brought to you by Hers Potato Chips. Hers, forever good. Protect Plus, official licensee of DuPont Air and Water Filtration. Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
The ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menards, is brought to you on MAV TV by Hers Foods. They call it the world's fastest half mile here at Winchester Speedway, and Kyle Benjamin has been making it look easy here all day long. Let's show you what happened here from the start.
Kyle Benjamin set a new track record in General Tire Pole Award qualifying, chose the outside line, and moved to the front in a hurry.
Yeah, the 28 car really was dominant at the beginning of this race, but then they struggled on pit road, and they lost some positions and would put Kyle Benjamin to the test to get back up to the front.
A test that he was up for and raced his way to the front. See him here getting underneath the 32 of Gus Dean. Certainly the class of the field. And then our most recent restart, Zane Smith had the lead, and then mechanical problems coming off turn 4.
Gus Dean got into the back of him. watered up the nose of his car, but it handed the lead to the 28 car, and that gets you up to speed here with less than 10 laps to go. Christian Eckes, who's been in second a couple times here today, has been hanging right there, but has not been able to close the gap, just about a half second back.
Well, Zane Smith looked like he had a shot to pick up his first career ARCA Racing Series win here today at Winchester. Ends up in the pits, and he's with Bob Dillner.
Zane Smith, a whale of a run here today. What put you out?
Yeah, just on that final restart, what it seems to be right now, waste broken transmission. Nothing I do there. I worked hard for that one, along with all my guys, and man, it sucks really bad to just throw this one away. But man, I cannot say it enough how much I can't thank Icon, Vehicle Dynamics, La Paz, KMC Wheels, Speed Vegas, my mom, my dad, and every single person that's been a part of this thing. Thank you.
That win is right around the corner for Zane Smith.
And you can hear the frustration in his voice. I mean, a talented young man for sure, tries to put a smile on there and be upbeat. But boy, it has certainly yanked the gut right out of him there, knowing he had a shot at that first win. He'll dig hard. They'll be back. We wish him the best of luck as we watch this battle here between Gus Dean, the Kevin Sawinski entry number 32, and Shane Lee scrapping his way back up in here.
Yeah, Gus Dean right now running in that 5th spot. Shane Lee right behind him as they cross the stripe. A handful of laps left to go. Shane Lee wiggling around there through 1 and 2, trying to everything he can to get by. Meanwhile, it's all Kyle Benjamin out in front.
Right behind him, as they take the white flag, is the 15 car of Christian Eckes. We talked about it before, a couple of podiums this year. Looking for his 3rd podium. It would be his 4th top 5. Is yet to be out of the top 10 in 8 starts. An incredible run for the 15 car as well, but this one is all the number 28, Kyle Benjamin, with a great run here for the MDM team. Win number 4 for that team. What a solid effort there. Sets a new track record in qualifying and grabs the win. Bob?
What a comeback for Marty Lindley, Kyle Benjamin, and this entire MDM Motorsports team. A bad pit stop set you back, but your driver never gave up. How was that?
No, it's just such a pleasure to have somebody like Kyle Benjamin drive your race car. You know, the future's fixing to be bright for this kid. I mean, he is a next-level driver for sure. It's just, a privilege for us to have us in this car. I want to thank everybody at MDM for preparing good race cars. Can't do it without great race cars, and it's fun to win here at Winchester.
Go celebrate.
All right, thank you.
Here's a look at the final results, all said and done. And yes, Kyle Benjamin up on top, followed by the young Christian Eckes, so talented. Yep, and there's Austin Terrio again inside of the top 5. Man, the points leader just keeps getting it done. Hats off to Travis Braden, coming out here, his first run in the 27 car, inside of the top 5. What a solid effort for him there. And in 5th place, Gus Dean again, as he continues to chase those Scott Rookie Challenge points.
You can see Dalton Sargent back there in 16th, Radley Herbst 17th. Not good points day for those two drivers here at Winchester Speedway. But Kyle Benjamin and that MDM team certainly putting on a show. He made it look simple here. Fell back a little bit, raced his way back to the front, finds himself in victory lane, and with that, he'll get to talk to Bob Dillner.
Kyle Benjamin with the big win here at Winchester Speedway. We talked this morning about how that Winchester 400 in the post-race tech kind of escaped you years ago. What does it mean to come back and win here today at Winchester?
It certainly means a lot. It's one of my favorite tracks, like I told you earlier also. Love coming here, and it's really cool to kind of redeem yourself after that Winchester 400. The place I've wanted to win at for a long time, and I had a great car today. Can't thank the crew enough. General Tire for building an awesome tire for us to come race on. It was a great race all in all. I had fun racing Zane Smith. I don't know what happened to him right there, but it was a tough battle.
You had a tough battle, too, because slow pit stop kind of put you behind. What was your mindset once you got out there and found out how far you were back and had to battle back to the front?
First off, I didn't know how many laps were left. So I was like, how many laps are left? Tell me now. Once I figured out we had 80 laps, I figured, okay, we have plenty of time to get back to the front if we can keep the tires on it and stay out of trouble. And we did just that, and we ended up in the front right there at the end. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get by the 55. I felt like we got a faster car than him, but it's so tough to pass on the bottom. I was really looking forward to battling him on that last restart. I don't know if he broke a transmission or what, but I hate it for them.
3rd win of his ARCA career for Kyle Benjamin. He'll celebrate today at Winchester.
Well, very kind of him to say that about Zane Smith, of course, and you can see how hungry he was, man. He really wanted to race that 55 car, and that's exciting as well. Congrats to him on a great win. Well, don't go away. We still have a lot of action coming your way, including a nice recap. And, yes, we'll talk to the young Christian Eckes and our points leader when we come back here to Winchester.
The ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards has been brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drainage, supply, and support products. Lucas Oil, made in America, sold to the world.
Chase Briscoe won this race from the pole 1 year ago, making it 10 times. Of course, Kyle Benjamin will update that stat now here in 2017 to make it 11. Welcome back to the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards and the Winchester Arca 200. Let's show you how it all went down. After setting a track record there and earning the General Tire Pole Award, Kyle Benjamin led the group to the stripe, and boy, did he take off.
Very fast the first half of this race. He would end up leading up to lap 117 in that number 28 for MDM Motorsports.
Then an incident right here for the 77 car of Dalton Sargent, who was second in the points. His teammate, the 22, had no place to go and got into the back of him as well. And the 18 of Riley Herbst also having a really tough day.
Certainly a tough day for both those teams for sure. Kyle Benjamin then would have trouble in the pits. He would lose a handful of spots and would have to work his way back to the front. But he certainly had the car to do it.
Underneath the 78 car of Chase Purdy there. Then he gets underneath the 32 of Gus Dean here. Then eventually would track down the race leader. Unfortunately, Zane Smith had an issue on the restart, and the 28 car took over the lead and drove it home. That gets you up to speed there on the Winchester Arca 200. Now down there in the podium area is young Mr. Christian Eckes, who had another outstanding run here today, Bob.
Christian Eckes second for the second time this year in the ARCA Racing Series. I know you want to do one better. You told me you're a little sore, though. Why is that?
Oh, man, this place is just so rough. I mean, honestly, this is the roughest place I've been at. It's just you go down a corner so hard and you stand in the gas as hard as you can. I mean, it's really fun, but luckily we have our General Tires to hold us down in the corner. I mean, it's just unbelievable how much grip we had today. And when we fired off, we were able to really put our power down. So, thanks to them, my Venturini guys, just everybody involved. We really did a great job today. We definitely had a huge turnaround since practice. It took a while for me to get used to the racetrack, but, definitely we came home second, and I'm really happy with that.
Here's a look at the points as they'll shake down. As you can see, Dalton Sargent, who came in here 110 back now, has fallen significantly after tagging the wall there early on.
Yeah, and you can see Gus Dean now taking over the third position as Riley Herbst falls down to fourth after a tough day here at Winchester.
Once again, we'll go back down to the podium area. This time, Bob Dillner is with our points leader, Austin Theriault.
The sign on Austin Theriault's pit box says, "Never give up." And that's exactly what the 52 team did here today. You survived and wound up with another podium. How do you rate today?
We struggled. Beginning of the race was really interesting for us. We gave up spots. The track was just a handful today. I think we started off too free, and once you're in the race, it's not like you can go under the hood and start making huge adjustments. So, I told Donnie to tighten me up at least so I could drive it and race with these guys, and didn't have the speed like the guys did up front, but at least we were able to drive hard and race hard, and look what happened at the end of the race. Like you said, never give up, running like just outside the top 5, and all of a sudden we see the two leaders in front of us. So General Tires were awesome when we came in and took 4. Then we took 2 before that, and it was really a lot easier to drive. But once the tires wore out, in 3 and 4, the groove went from like down to the bottom, and then it moved up, and then it kind of stayed in the middle. And 1 and 2, it moved around too. So it's a really interesting race as far as having to adapt. And at the end, you just had what you had, and you just drove it. So we did what we could, and top 3 is not bad.
Yeah, certainly good points day for your current points leader, Austin Theriault. Make sure you never miss a race here on MAV TV. Go to mavtv.com/set-reminder. Sign up, and you can get notifications on your phone when your favorite race is on MAV TV.
Well, no doubt it was a long day for the 77 car. Dalton Sargent will have to persevere and continue to chase this championship up.
Tough day for the man second in points coming into this race. Dalton Sargent, what are your thoughts right now?
Yeah, it was definitely a tough day for us. Obviously, we lost quite a bit of ground in the championship to the 52 car, but the guys at Cunningham Motorsports worked really hard in this car all week, so it was definitely a bit of a bummer to blow a right front there about just before halfway through, I think. So we'll rebound from it, go out there and try and win a couple more races the rest of this year and see where we end up in the championship.
When you look at the championship picture, is there still time to get this championship with what Austin's been able to do?
It's been pretty tough to close up the points, lately, and another setback like this is definitely going to hurt us. So it's going to be pretty tough now. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be pretty tough. So our best bet's to go out there and just win everything. So that'll be the only way that we might be able to catch up.
And Dalton Sargent has already won 3 times this year.
To keep up with all the action here with the ARCA Racing Series, go to arcaracing.com. We'd love to see you there. Hope you enjoyed all the great racing action from the world's fastest half mile here at Winchester Speedway. The next stop will take us to the dirt, and we hope you'll join us there as well. For Bob Dillner and Rob Klepper, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the ARCA Racing Series.